Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. So I wanted to do an exclusive today uh, with one of the most famous people on TikTok. That's what I'm going to say. You're the most famous person on TikTok. So this is Queen. So for those of you who are not familiar, get familiar because we've got a winner here. She's on point all the time on her show, and I became a fan. And then I reached out and I said, "Hey, I need to interview her because she's top tier." And I mean, it's true though. Like you're in there, you're in the trenches, you're fighting the battle, and like it gets me, it motivated me. Like I got to get in there. And
Yes.
so welcome to the show.
Why, thank you. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, thank you. I know you're a busy person, and I won't keep up too much of your time, but
Okay.
so we just want to kind of go through and kind I want to pick your brain a little bit and
Okay.
see you know how you think about things and how you do things, and because I feel our work is just now starting. That's how I feel. Um, we've got a really shaky they're going to be fighting us for 4 years, so we got to keep going.
Absolutely.
But if you could just start off and just kind of tell us about yourself and especially about like your motivations for what you do on TikTok.
Oh, well, I'm just a girl from Cleveland, Ohio. I got my start in the medical field recently, went to school, became a medical assistant, and start working at Cleveland Clinic. If you're not familiar with Cleveland Clinic, look it up. They're very prestigious around the world. People come travel from miles and miles away to get services here. So that made me feel pretty special when I got that job offer. But anyway, my start with TikTok, I don't know, it just came out of nowhere. I just voiced my opinion on something and the video just went viral, and people really was in tune with what I was saying, and
Right.
it was very astonishing because I really wasn't expecting that to happen. So, and just from there I just continued on. I'm like, okay, people want to hear this stuff. Because for a while I would speak about this stuff and people would be kind of like closed off. They would be upset, they would be irritated, they wasn't ready to hear it. So now
Right.
it's just good to be in a climate where people are susceptible to what's going on and they actually want to hear it and want to do something. So, yeah.
So that's just to kind of add to what you just said, and that's what got me hooked on your page was you were very like your message is very clear and it's easy to follow, and you lead us when you're communicating your point. It's very easy to follow where you're going with it, and just the way that you communicate is is exceptional. And I don't know if people tell you that, but that's what I get out of your shows. I'm like, fully understand where you're going from point A to point B, and you've got all your ducks in a row to back it up. And that's I think that's where you get a lot of your success from is you're just on top of it.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I appreciate the compliment. I try to be clear and concise as I can be. I don't want to do word salads like Skamala. But, I just try to be clear. I don't want to be too wordy or give people those big words that they got to look
Yeah.
up. So I just try to simplify things and put it in layman's terms so we all can understand and be on the same page.
Right. And you're getting it done. So let's talk a little bit before we move too far into the in-depth stuff. So is TikTok the only platform that you focus on?
Well, currently, yes, I was doing Instagram and
Mhm.
YouTube, but sometimes the views can be kind of stagnant, and it seems
Yeah.
like TikTok is more um useful when you're trying to get your message out. Even though they have their shadow ban and their little techniques to kind of ban you as well,
Yeah.
but it seems like you still can, push your content through without it
Right.
being stagnant.
Right. Yeah. YouTube. I fully get that. I love YouTube. I love the platform and I love, creating my content on YouTube. But you're exactly right. Like they're real slick about shadow banning you, and they just won't circulate your content. And
Absolutely.
where on TikTok, there's little ways you can get around it.
Yes, I agree.
And sometimes your content goes so fast that they can't get to it fast enough to shut it down.
Exactly. That's the thing. Because when you get a certain amount of views, and they even have
Yeah.
that in their terms and conditions, that they will check on your video, they'll see exactly what your content is, and if they deem it inappropriate, they will stagnate the video, or they will literally just delete it.
Right.
So
I had
yeah.
them I had them cut the sound off of one of my videos one time.
Oh yeah, I had that issue a couple of times as well with my last page, because they
Yeah.
literally banned my other page. So
Yeah, I remember when that happened. But I was like, why
yeah.
didn't you just take the video down instead of just muting the video? Like that was dumb.
Exactly. But I was kind of creative with it because I had captions in that particular video. So I'm like, if
Ah,
people actually want to watch it and read along, they can. But, it still was kind of like, come on now, TikTok.
yeah, they get
Like, I'm
petty on there.
sharing my experience. Why are you banning my point of view? And I'm literally sharing my personal experience. It's not like I'm just sitting up here spreading misinformation off the crack of my
Right.
butt. Okay.
Right. And you don't. Your information is always right on point and accurate and completely truthful. So you probably win a lot of appeals, I would imagine.
Well, it can be kind of tricky. It just depends on the day of the week, I guess. TikTok
Yeah.
can be very tricky.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm starting to figure it out as my views grow. Um,
Yeah, I see you. You're doing awesome. Keep doing what you're doing.
I'm
You
getting
break
there.
stuff down so well, and you're very articulate with it.
I try to be. I try to be. I pretend like I know what I'm talking about sometimes.
Yeah, with satire.
I try to be satirical. Try
Yeah.
use my sense of humor.
Yeah, you got to. You got to. That keeps the viewers engaged.
Right, right. So now I want to talk about like the kickback that you get from the left. And I
Oh,
noticed because I've watched enough of your content where I know that you get attacked all the time. So just kind of walk us through like what you've had to like deal with as you've made your content leading up to the election that you've seen.
well, I guess I got a bulletproof vest on because I've been through this previously when I had like Facebook, and I used to speak a lot of truth on there, and I would get so much negativity from people that really didn't understand where I was coming from.
Right.
So at that time in my life, I knew like moving forward, if I was going to do content, that I had to be pretty tough. I had to have thick skin. And then
Yeah.
just fast forward now with the comments, the Uncle Tom and the negativity that people say, and calling me Auntie Ruckus and all this. Now it's funny to me because it was expected,
Right.
you know. So I just try to laugh it off and have a sense of humor about it because it just goes with the territory.
Right. I generally, I get called, white supremacist all the time, and I'm a misogynist and everything else. And I usually just didn't. I'll just say, well, thank you. I really enjoy that.
Exactly.
And
Thank you for your comment.
thank you, thank you. I love your opinion.
Absolutely. Thanks for the engagement. It really helps
Yeah.
my algorithm.
Or I've hit them on YouTube with thank you. Your engagement, donated to my monetization, which I donate fully to Donald Trump's campaign. So I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Every little bit helps.
Yep. So they get mad about that.
Yeah, they do. They definitely had their panties in the bunch when you don't
Oh
respond
man.
the way they think so.
And so what did you always have you always been brought up a conservative or were you a liberal and switched at some point?
Well, in my community is vote blue no matter who. Just go right down
Right.
the ballot and vote blue. But for me, I will always read the ballot. Like, who is these people? Who are these people?
That's smart.
Like, what do they represent? Like, I never heard this person. Let me go research them. Let me go see what they're about. I never just felt compelled to just vote just because somebody told me to vote a certain type of way. I
Right.
always had to be kind of stimulated by their thought process and what policies they were going to bring to the table to convince me to be like, okay, yeah, this person may be a good candidate. So for me, it was just always just, utilizing critical thinking and then making my determination from there.
Yeah, critical thinking is a big key that it's to me it's a system that it doesn't seem like a lot of people use anymore. Um,
Absolutely not.
it's like it's like you really can't come up, people can't come up with their own thought process anymore. The left is so bad at it, and it's just every time they post things like on X and whatnot, it just seems like everyone is reading from the same cue card all the time.
Absolutely.
And there's no creative, there's no creativity from them. And
None.
so you get guys like on X like Cat Turd, and that comes out of, he's coming from all kinds of different angles, and he's not reading from a cue card. When you bring your information out, you're the same way. You can tell you're not just repeating Republican talking points, and that you have a fire about something, and you're going to speak out on something that you've noticed, and that's being genuine, and people can resonate with that. And I think that's why the future of the news, which the news has destroyed itself enough, I think, to where they're not going to be able to recover. And
Absolutely.
and that's including Fox News. I think they've knocked themselves out of the game. And it's, for one, they're all owned by the same BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, so they're all on the same team. But
Absolutely.
I believe they're responsible for keeping the division. And so I think the future, and Elon kind of brought it up when he was joking, when he was talking about buying MSNBC, which made Rachel Maddow cry, which I thought was hilarious. But he was like, well, let's put the podcasters as the news anchors. And I thought,
Yes.
you know what? That's brilliant, because the honest news is coming from the podcast world right now.
Absolutely.
And it makes me feel good. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I got a shot at like the 2 a.m. slot.
Yes.
2 a.m.
Like we all got a chance at a job.
Right.
Yes.
You'll be in prime time though. You'll
Oh
be
my
on the prime
goodness.
time.
I gotta have you there with me. I gotta have you there with me. You can't have me
I'll
by
come on.
myself.
I'll come on and be a guest, a guest analyst sometimes.
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
But
Yes.
I think that would be cool, like to have the podcast world to control the news, because I feel like we're the only ones that have been telling the truth for the last 4 or 5 years.
Yes. Absolutely. That would be very honorable of them to do, because it will give the American people a better perspective on what's going
Right.
on in America, And it's
Right.
funny because we get better news. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but we get better news coverage from Australia
Yeah.
than we do in America.
Yeah. Sky News is a pretty decent news outlet down there.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's when I do my research, I generally don't. I'll watch CNN, and I'll watch Fox, and then I'll check out Newsmax, and then I'll go overseas, and I'll watch Russia Today, I'll watch the BBC, Al Jazeera, and Sky
Yes.
News. Those are my
Yes.
outlets, and I figure if I can kind of get everybody's angle on something, then I can generally kind of piece together maybe what the real truth is, because they're all going to tell
Absolutely.
it from a different angle. So that's kind of how I do it,
Yeah.
which it takes a lot of research, and eventually I'm not going to have that kind of time to do all that kind of research, but
Yeah.
I'll have to make a decision, career or entertain people.
Exactly. Got to find a balance. It's
Yeah, I got to
difficult,
find a
but
balance.
yeah, but it can be done. It can
Right.
be done.
Right. It can be done.
Yes.
So my question is, to do you have a way that you collect your information? Do you have a method?
Well, for me, it's just been years and years of compound data that I've been collecting from personal experiences, from other people's personal experiences. I'm talking about middle class, rich, poor, and then just gauging what's going on in the world of entertainment and just,
Right.
like you say, putting all of the pieces to the puzzle together and making a determination off of just your pure intelligence.
Right.
And then just coming up with the best conclusion that makes sense.
Right. I mean, you probably get those moments where you hear something and you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And then you have to look into it. And then pretty soon you're down a rabbit hole and and you realize that what you were just told has zero truth to it. And now you've uncovered something.
Absolutely. Yep, that'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Yep.
that gets me every time.
Yep, me too. If my brain can't compute it, it's like, something not right about this story,
Right,
So
right,
let me investigate a little further. And if I come to a dead end and I know this is just BS.
right, right. So let's get into like some of the issues that are going on right now, and then I have a real big one that I want to get your input on at the end. Um, but Trump, do you see like you've been watching Trump's cabinet picks? Do any
Yes.
of them excite you, like overly excite you?
I'm looking forward to see what Kennedy is going to do as far as holding the FDA accountable, CDC,
Oh
all of
yeah,
these different programs that have been literally keeping us sick you know. And that's
yeah,
something that I've always preached about and been very passionate about seeing changing because in other countries they prohibit a lot of those chemicals and they don't have
the
high
dyes,
fructose corn syrup and all of their products and stuff like that. And here it's just acceptable.
right,
So it's like they're robbing us of our health. And it's nice to see that someone is taking a stance on that. So I would love to see them expand on that. And then also this whole border issue. It seemed like his pick is very passionate about ensuring that these migrants go back to where they came from. And us Americans, we built our country on migration, but it has to be done in a way that actually benefits everybody. It can't just be taken
right,
away from Americans. We are being overtaxed and overburdened just for them to come here and take all of the jobs and opportunities. That's not right. So I'm looking forward to seeing a change in that and the economy as well.
right. I mean, those are all pretty good. Like Tom Homan, like you were talking, he's pretty passionate. I love watching him
Yes.
talk. It's like watching an old professional wrestler talk, where he's like,
Absolutely. Yes.
I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna take out the cartels.
Right.
I love him. I
Yes,
believe
yes.
him. I believe him when he talks.
Yeah, me too. I think he's going to be true to his convictions with ensuring that these migrants go on back to where they came from. He said, what about the parents? What about the mothers and the children? Oh, they can go too. They don't have to stay. They can go right where he's going. There's no problem.
Right,
The family can stay together.
right. I mean, at the end of the day, like I understand to a certain extent the liberals' point of view. Like they're human beings, and
Absolutely.
but on the other hand, like that we still have to know who people are. And
Yes.
I just feel like that the Biden administration, their neglect for that part of it, had they vetted everybody, I don't think anybody would be complaining if we knew who everybody
No.
was. And
Yes.
it seems like it was an easier, I feel like they make the border issue way harder than what it needs to be. And
Yes.
it's just
Yeah.
like, hey, vet them. If they're not vetted, get them out of here, go put them back at the border until they can go back through the process and they can walk right back in.
Absolutely. Yes. Everything has to be done in the correct format. It's been that way for years. So why deviate from it now?
Right. And I see it on a personal level every day. So I run a company in Atlanta, and there's a big migrant community right down the road. And so they're always coming to us looking for jobs.
Hmm.
And I have to turn them away all the time because their IDs don't match the social security number or whatnot, because they're not who they say they are.
Right.
And so now it always comes to my mind. I'm like, well, what do we know about these guys? Did this guy just massacre a family of people back in Venezuela? Or, I don't know. I can't hire
Hmm.
people on maybe they look like they're nice people. And
Yeah,
so I
I
just,
agree.
yeah, they got to vet them.
Absolutely. And that was Trump's whole argument the whole time. Like they're emptying out their insane asylums, they're emptying out
Yeah,
their jails, and they're dumping them in America as if it's a free fall. And that's not right. You leaving the American people up to being in a situation where they're not safe,
right.
you know?
They turned us
So
into Australia.
absolutely, yes. And the migrant issue, like, how they were saying with Ohio, with the whole debate, and they were trying to deny it and blow it off. And it's actually true because I see a lot of these businesses here, a lot of them are migrant ran. A lot of these
Right.
restaurants, they're literally taking over. You see them downtown, you see them outside, you see them going to school, you see them here and there. So you know that it's an issue. It wasn't like this 4 years ago.
Right. Yeah, things have drastically changed. That's a drastic,
Absolutely.
and it's to the point where we haven't been able to keep up as a society. That it's happened so fast. And
Yes.
so yeah, I'm hoping that Trump and Tom Homan and some of those other like cabinet assistants are going to come in and really put the brakes on that and say, look, we got to let's figure out who everybody is. That's top priority,
Yes.
and make them come in the right way, just like everybody else.
Absolutely.
I'm big on RFK too. I really like. I want the food cleaned up. I'm terrified to eat food anymore, and it's a bad deal. Like we shouldn't have to guess what's in our food, or hey, why are there 25 chemicals in my cereal? And
Right.
like, why is half these chemicals in embalming, like stuff you put in cadavers? Like I shouldn't be eating
Right.
embalming fluid. So it's a big thing, and we got to get that cleaned up. And I don't think Kennedy's going to be able to make that happen overnight because he's going to get such kickback from the food industry and the and like the man, I lost my train of thought. So the food industry is going to give him kickback, obviously, because if he cleans it up, they're going to have a shorter shelf life for their food because it's all the preservatives is what they keep putting in everything
Yes.
that keep it on the shelf longer. And then he's going to get a kickback from big pharma because we're going to get healthy, and that's going to put them. They're going to lose billions of dollars.
Yes, they are.
And it's sad. It's sad that that's how they look at us. We're just
It
some
is.
people. Yeah, we're just supposed to buy all their pills all the time, and they're poisoning those too. Like everywhere
Yep,
we
I'm trying to
go,
tell you. They make them so addictive, and then you take one pill, then
man.
you got to take another pill for something else. The risk outweigh the benefit. So what is
Oh,
the
most
point?
definitely. You take a pill and you look at the side effects, and you're like, wait a minute. So if I take this, my blood pressure will balance out, but it's going to make me homicidal. So
Right, I'm gonna be depressed, and then I gotta take
yeah,
depression pills, and then the
and I got to go to
depression pills gonna
therapy.
make me feel like I can't walk, and now I gotta take pills to help me walk better. It's like it's just a never-ending battle.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't, but to them it does, because they're making continuous money off the American people, and it's not right. It has to be just completely done with at this point.
Right, right. So when it comes to Kamala's presidency, what lost it for her, in your opinion?
I think she lost before she started. You know, you got thinking the primaries in 2020, she wasn't very popular then. That's why she
No.
dropped out. So for them to put her in the race, it was almost like a suicide mission. It's like I don't think they liked her very much.
Right.
You know, that's how I looked at it. Like y'all really, it's entertaining, if anything. And I knew that's what they were gonna do. I'm like, oh, Biden, he bombing this debate. I'm like, they would have been better off putting Kamala in there because at least she would have been able to do a little back and forth. You know what I'm saying? And make it entertaining.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she's still not gonna beat Trump. She's not gonna outwit him. Because he knows what he's talking about and he don't give a
Right.
damn about speaking the truth.
Yeah,
She's just a paid
yeah.
liar.
That's the best part about Trump is he's gonna shoot you straight. Exactly what's on
Yeah.
his mind. So I
Yeah.
thought that I think a lot of it came down to the money because they had already collected all this money for Biden, and the way that the
Yes.
election laws read is they couldn't just give that to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so it had to be Kamala, or they would have had to give
Absolutely.
they would have had to give back all that money.
Yep.
And they didn't want to do that. And they thought, well, maybe we can just make her popular.
Yep. Like how
You
they do
know,
the celebrities.
yeah, we'll just make a summer concert series out of her campaign.
Okay, fine.
We'll
Yep.
get Megan the Stallion out there and we'll whop all day.
Yeah, they brought out everybody. Cardi
Man,
B,
They had them all.
Beyonce, they
Yeah,
bought
beyond.
Queen B off the throne. I'm like, oh my goodness, like they are losing bad if they got to bring her out.
That's
Like,
what I.
goodness gracious.
And that was a thermometer for me too, because I was like, man, they're really bringing out the heavy hitters for this campaign. If you're doing well, you're not going to try to hit a home run every time, because it's the campaign's a
Nah.
long time. She knew her numbers were tanking, and unfortunately, America didn't know it because we're given bogus poll numbers all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought there were several. I thought the Harris campaign didn't they lost touch with the grassroots of America, and
Yes.
they appeared to they made themselves look like elitist.
Of course, they look like superstars out there.
Yeah, America wasn't trying to hear rich people talk right now. We're all struggling. So
Right.
if you wanted to put everyday Americans up there to campaign for you, she would have got further down the line, I think.
Yes, absolutely, because it would have been a more relatable campaign.
Yeah. And she just couldn't relate with people. And the Democrats, they're blaming everybody and their mom, I think, right now. They don't know who to point the finger at. Um,
They got to point it at themselves.
that's what I say. They vote. They let them just appoint her. They should have primaried her, and they would have been in a better spot. I don't know who their candidate would have been. There's several people, but I think they had a loser no matter who they were going to throw in there. Trump masterfully ran his campaign this time around, and
Yeah.
he did all the right things. That whole garbage truck thing, man, I'm still fired up about that. Like, how do you take a shot at the man and the next day he shows up with a garbage truck?
Right.
How do you can't beat a guy like that.
No, you cannot. And you called us all garbage, and then he like, oh, okay. You're gonna call every American that wants to have a better world, a better society, garbage?
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna show
It,
you some garbage.
it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And
Yeah.
I just can't get over how well they did. And he pulled from just about every demographic. Kamala couldn't hold the black vote like previous candidates. She lost a lot of that. She lost a lot of the Hispanic backing. She lost a lot of the LGBTQ community, and they won't show you those stats, but I found them. And she lost a lot of LGBTQ community because the old school ones, they don't want all that pizzazz. They just want to live
Exactly.
they want to live their life like regular normal people. So
Yes. Yes.
that hurt her because the old school gays and lesbians don't want all that craziness.
No, they don't.
So that helped Trump. Trump had everything in his pocket. He kind of backed a little bit of everybody. I can't believe Ohio State just got beat by Michigan. I am so upset
Oh
right now.
wow.
I'm not watching football the rest of the year.
They'll get it next time.
But so one thing I want to talk about, I don't know how it is up there in Cleveland. It's been so long since I've been in Cleveland. Um,
Hmm.
but you guys are all Browns fans up there. So um, I stay away from the Browns fans because you guys are unstable because you're happy with your team no matter if you win or lose. And
Oh yes. That
that's
dog.
something I got to watch out for, people like that. But so like how are the community structures going? Is there one thing that I noticed that every presidential candidate does all the time is they make promises to the at-risk communities and they disappear for 4 years. So
Right.
did we see anything in like Metro Cleveland that showed any improvement over the last 4 years?
Well, with the rescue plan that Biden initiated, it has been a lot of building, but I think it was all kind of unnecessary. I think they should focus more on the infrastructure, like the streets. I mean, they fixed some streets, but not enough. It's still a lot of streets that has been like, I mean, pothole craters that have send you to the moon if you hit them.
Right.
So, and then just making sure that you got a nice sewage system. And, I think they should focus more on, making what is better.
Right.
You already got enough stuff out here that you can actually build on. So why start more stuff? And because, you stressing the infrastructure when you do that. So just build on what's already here. And then,
Hmm.
we got a homeless issue. You can tell it's a mental health crisis going on. I know that's going on everywhere, but here I can see the significant increase in it, just with the poverty and the opportunities kind of diminishing and stuff like that.
Right.
You got veterans out here. So, yeah, it's kind of tough.
Yeah, so that's what I always because when you look at like especially like in the education world and you look at like the statistics of um how kids are testing, especially in inner cities, generally across the board in every major city, everyone these kids are testing low. And so I'm like,
Yes.
why is this like this? Why do we have to keep, we know it's a problem, but why are we continually going back to it and going, well, how do we address this problem? And then nobody addresses it. And I think that's something in the cities that a lot of, the parents of these kids are going, why we need you guys to do something. Like make the schools better, make our opportunities better. Put some trade schools within, a short driving distance or a short walking distance. So we have these opportunities to not just get sucked in by the same livelihood that we've been sucked into for the last 40, 50 years. Um,
Right.
I'm real big on that down here because I see it in Metro Atlanta really bad,
Yeah.
and it's just like a vacuum of not being able to get out. So I,
Right.
I worry about that a lot because you're not seeing an investment into those communities, and I
Yeah,
would
they're
like to.
always expecting.
Yeah,
I'm
and
sorry.
I hope Trump has a plan for that because that's one thing that when you hear when they were doing polls after the election, that was one thing that you heard a lot out of the minority communities was, you know, nobody wants to do anything for us. And Trump needs to make sure that he does something to improve the livelihoods of every community. And I think he's going
Absolutely.
to. I believe he will.
I do as well, but we got to realize too, the people they have to want the help too. I think a
Right.
lot of people
Right.
get comfortable with their circumstances because it's just a
Right.
cycle of just disparity, and you just think that there's no way out. So, on one side, I do hope that they create initiatives and more programs that help people want to achieve their goals, and I think they are. You know what I mean? I think that's a Republican thing. You don't want to see people in poverty. You don't want to see people struggling. You want
Right.
to reduce the single mother epidemic that's going on. So I believe they will do, you know, necessary things to improve our communities.
Yeah. And I think, they don't have to like force feed it down our throats, but I do think that they do need to start talking more about family structure and trying to strengthen family structure. And that needs to go across the board because I see that dysfunction no matter whether you're rich, poor, white, black, brown, it doesn't matter. We're seeing family
Yes.
dysfunction in every aspect of American life. And I think that if we tighten that up a little bit and tried to promote it a little bit, that
Mm-hmm.
could, you know, ease some of the burdens of a lot of things going on in this country that we as conservatives feel like is kind of tearing us apart a little bit.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Right. I want to see the next generation of kids succeed, and we got to do our part to make sure that happens. And I haven't been able to trust in the government to ensure that my grandchildren are going to be successful in the future. So
Yeah.
that's definitely a point for me that I really want to get across. And hopefully we see something. I think Trump that guy's done more in the last month than I think Biden did in 4 years.
4 years, right? And Biden outspent Trump. I'm
Yeah.
still hearing
Right.
that liberal talk. Oh, Trump just spent $8 trillion. Like, okay, half
Right.
of that money was spent on the CARES Act. And guess who benefited the most from that? Corporations. They took their
Yep.
money off the top. They didn't even care about the everyday person that was struggling and didn't know how they was gonna eat or where they was gonna live at. So
Right.
you have to look at every element of the things that occurred and not just be quick to regurgitate the same talking points without knowing the truth behind what you're saying.
So that was one of the most difficult things to get across to young liberals was because you know how they are. They're like, well, the corporations need to pay their fair share. Well, okay, well, you guys need to go follow the money because Biden and Kamala have zero interest in actually making them pay their fair share. They can say it on TV all they want, but when you follow the money, all they've done for 4 years is funnel money to giant corporations. So you think they're going to cut? You think they're going to cut those throats? Nope.
Sorry about that. It's loud down here. Yeah.
So I don't think they're. I don't think the initiative ever was to make these companies pay their fair share. I don't
No,
think that
not
was
at
ever going
all.
to happen. It was all
They're all
just
in
talking
on it.
points. Yeah, everybody's dependent on it. The
Yeah.
company, we're just consumers to them. We're not people. We're just people. Buy the stuff, herding cattle.
Absolutely. And then the liberals have to realize if the corporations was to pay their fair share, they really wouldn't need you anymore. Because then you would be forced to have to work another job. You wouldn't get all of that supplement income that a lot of y'all
Right,
get to survive. So if they
right,
pay their fair share, trust me, you wouldn't benefit at all. You will really struggle.
right. That's a good point. That's a good point. That's exactly how it works too.
Yeah. The more they pay, the less they gonna pay you.
Sarge, stop. So I got a regular Queen, and he's always on my. He was a staff sergeant in the Air Force, but he just reminded me that the UK government's coming for me. So
Oh
let's
my
not bring
goodness.
it. Let's not bring that up because they keep calling.
Oh yes, let's keep it quiet.
It's funny. It's like a trophy for me. Yeah. But that's the kind of stuff that you run into, I guess. People are going to try to censor us conservatives. I worry that now that Trump has created this dysfunction in the world, really, it's not just in our country. He's created a dysfunction of the establishment in the world. It's all unbalanced right
Yes.
now. So I'm trying to watch what Europe is going to do, um, because they're dead set on trying to get their little globalization plan done. So I hope that they just let it die out, but I don't think they will. I don't think we've heard the last of that. That socialist movement's still out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So
so
that's pretty much the questions that I wanted to ask you, and I'm very happy that you came on my show and I get to expose you to my viewers, and we get to spread some more conservative love out there, that we're not just a bunch of uneducated idiot hillbillies. We actually do some research and we use our brains and think. And so
yeah.
thank you for coming on, Queen, and stay safe out there and always watch your back.
Oh, for sure. Of course. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. We have to do this more sometime.
Oh, absolutely. Whenever. I'm ready whenever.
Okay, you got to come on my TikTok show one day. We got to get this
Absolutely. Tell me when.
twisted.
I'll be there.
Okay, wonderful.
All right. So that's my show for the day. Everybody out there that's watching, please have a good weekend. Be safe, drive slow in the snow, take your time. You don't need no more
Yes.
accidents. Make my insurance rate go up.
Yes. Tell them again 2 times.
Right. Drive careful.
All right. Will
All right.
do. You take care.
All right. Well,
And
I'm
follow
out.
us on TikTok, y'all.
Yes. And
Queen. Yes.
I'll put your links in the comments.
Yes, please.
All right. Well, everybody have a good weekend.
You too. Take care.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.